Well, my name's Philip Newman. I live in Otrahonga, north of Otrahonga on State Highway 3. I've been a farmer all my life. I farm sheep and beef mainly. I don't farm that anymore. I run my son's dairy heifers and I grow maize for his operation in Cambridge. He's got a dairy farm over there opposite the oat stud. I've been involved all my life. I was brought up in Nelson, a little place called Brightwood where Lord Rutherford was born. We had a little farm down there. My father had it, my grandfather had it. My grandfather set up Newman Brothers with the horses way back in 1879. And my grandfather bought a mare, a filly, imported filly in 1925, and that's the only family we ever had. One mare. When my father had it, there was Cadiz. He won 23 races, including the Hollywood Gold Cup, and a full brother topped the sale at Trentham for my father, called Boundless, and he ended up in the late 60s as Japan was developing their racehorse business as a stallion, and they tell me he did quite well over there. From my own personal point of view, one of the first horses I bred was Rationale. I bred one or two others before that weren't any good, which I got rid of in the end. It's costing me too much money. And then Rationale was by Sound Reason, and she was one of the better broodmares in New Zealand, probably, for what she left, and it's still carrying on. And I get a constant inquiry for fillies from all the big studs and everybody else. And I've only sold two. One to Trelawney and one to Waikato stud, and they're both basically almost their top mare. Well, one was Rationane, was the first one I sold to Trelawney. It was by Centane, before he was proven. Her first foal was a Malfi, who won the Victorian Derby. And then I sold Rationable to Waikato stud, and she's been Vincent Mangano and a whole heap of them vigor for Waikato stud. There's a whole heap of them come out of Rationable. She was by a mare called, she was out of Rationale by Housebuster. Well, I've been in it for nearly 50 years and I've seen it come and go. When I first started, every sheep and beef, or a lot of sheep and beef farmers had a mare, two mares, and with the climate for finance and everything else, they couldn't keep them on. I've seen them go to the highs in the late 80s and then the lows. And whatever stock you're in, there's always highs and lows. It always pays to get on the lows because you don't pay too much. And now is the right time to do it because it's a low. And I'd advise anybody, if they wanted to breed a horse, because you can buy a little filly pretty cheap right now to breed from. I love the breeding side of it. I bred stud Angus cattle and stud Simmental cattle. I haven't got them anymore. Yes, it's relevant to all breeds, whether it be sheep, horses, cattle, whatever it may be. Of how you go about it, you know. Once you get out of a hobby game and get the numbers up, it has to become a business to pay the service fees. So I sell the colts and keep the fillies because my son wants to carry on in the years to come. And I've tried to upgrade it through that, you know. Full training fees, well, in New Zealand, 50 to 60 bucks a day, I suppose, and it can add up pretty quick, especially if with the stakes the way they are now, which is unfortunate. It can be pretty costly business. Takes the cost out of it if you lease them, you know. And I don't have a lot of trouble leasing my fillies if I want to, you know. I've won quite a few races over the years with the fillies, done quite well with them.
In behind these, next is May the Horse Be Magic. Options made the lead at the 100 metres. From on the inside, Undisclosed, then Inferno and Back in Black. Options starting to draw clear though for Alicia Collett, and Options goes on to win second.
Rationale would be the best horse I've bred because she bred so well. And they're still going. She's been dead quite a few years now, and it's still just carrying on, you know. My father had a brood mare when I was a boy called Infinity, and he had two. My father only ever had two mares. That's all he bred from in Nelson. and he bred the broodmare of the year in 1962. So it's been a good family for a long time. Well, they always tell you there's three places in the world to breed horses: Kentucky, Ireland, and right here in the Waikato. And I haven't been to America. I've been to Ireland. Very similar. The grass is green. I don't feed my horses in it. I just feed them grass and a little bit of silage. That's all they ever get. I don't buy any expensive feed. And they grow out and they're fat all the time, and you know. And I believe this would be as good as any in the world to breed horses right here. Australia gets a lot of problems because it's very dry over there, which we don't get. We don't get the problems Australia gets with the climate, you know. The cost is a lot higher. Yeah, it's pretty hard to send a mare to Australia with all your costs and everything else, you know. Whereas here it's relatively cheap by world standards. There's nothing better. Nothing better than breeding a winner and being there on track, because you've read them, you've handled them, you know what they're like, you know their temperament, everything else, and yeah, there's nothing better. Nothing better.